Thank you very much, President Talon. Thank you, dear colleagues, and thank you, everybody. I will try to conclude this session before the dinner we have on the day tomorrow. Let's be clear. If I try to summarize the situation, the amount of challenges creates a unique nexus because we have to deal with poverty, and this poverty did increase because of the pandemic and other crises. We have to deal with the war and its consequences, and food shortage and so on. And we have to deal with climate change and its consequences and a big biodiversity crisis. Adding to that, we have to deal with the unique demographic crisis between North and South. So the nexus of all these crises creates a huge need of money and financing. At the same time, we have to work with what we have at the very beginning. We want to reform it, but we have the existing governance, global architecture. I do take the message coming from everywhere that this architecture is no more adapted with the current environment. It was thought, conceived after the Second World War. A lot of these existing countries around the table were not independent at the time, so the governance is not appropriate. The way to function, the fair representativity of the countries representation of countries is not here, and so on and so on. But we have to face this nexus, so how to better work with our existing structures, how to increase the financing, while we are reforming global governance. And I want to insist on that, having taken a lot of message. Because if we say the precondition is the reform of the global governance, it can take decades. Let's be clear. The opposite risk is a big fragmentation of the governance. Because, and I want to be clear here, I will defend a reform in depth of our global governance. I think the current representation is unfair, and I'm ready to be diluted. Let's be clear, I'm overrepresented. But the main risk, given the sort of paradox I mentioned, is a fragmentation. The big risk in the coming years is to keep IMF, World Bank, United Nations, and have a separate global order being created by China, the Gulf, emerging countries, and the BRICS, and saying, your order isn't fair, we will create our own. Good luck. If we do so, this is the biggest mistake we can do, because we will create a lot of dis-synergies everywhere in the room. So we have to rush, better work together, reunite our order, be more efficient, and prepare the next stages. This is much more difficult than creating a separate one. This is why finance in common is, for me, a unique opportunity. And we are here. I'm super happy. I have no merit for that, because this is the initiative of the Public Development Bank. And I want to thank you all. Thank you, Remy, and your colleagues, because finance in common is a creation, meaning development banks and public development banks were much more smart than a lot of leaders. Now we have to take it and to make it in politics in order to leverage, I would say, on this platform. So there is a consensus to say we have to deal, and the objective, I think, is a consensus. People and planet. We have to finance education, health, jobs, and climate and biodiversity. This is the objective. Second, we need much more money to do so. So finance in commons is now created. This is a unique platform. Let's consolidate. Cartagena will be the second round, but let's make it the right forum to develop and make much more. And to better mobilize our Public Development Bank and our multilateral institutions, to create much more synergies, to avoid overlap, and to be much more efficient altogether. What do we want to do on the short run? We want more money. I will detail this evening and tomorrow how to do so, but we will have to increase the capitals, not just of the World Bank, but all the regional and public banks for sure. There is a shortage, number one. Second, we do need, and this is a request of this recap, a better coordination. How through finance in common, have a much smarter and a much more efficient articulation and coordination between all these public development banks. Third, we have to increase the leverage between multilateral institutions and regional banks. I want to thank the World Bank for joining this initiative, and they are playing a unique role. But money coming from World Bank and IMF is much more efficient if it is channeled through regional banks, because you create a huge leverage. It's much more efficient than a direct investment. And we have to increase common work with private sectors. This is why I want to thank you for being here, because this is the other leverage. We have to leverage through public development bank. We have to leverage by channeling much more money from World Bank and IMF through regional banks. We have to leverage through better coordination. We have to leverage through private money. And when we put one, at least we have to mobilize one in terms of private money, which is absolutely key, through innovative financing, guarantees, first loss mechanism, and so on, and to avoid the eviction effect when sometimes we put public money where we could have private money in a lot of situations. This is why finance in common is a very smart and relevant platform in order to deliver this result, because this is what we need. In parallel, and elaborating on this platform and what we are doing, we have to prepare the future governance. This governance has to be much more inclusive, meaning it should be just the reflection of the new global order, respectful of demography and the new balances of this world. And I think the instruments we want to use should be much more based on partnership and not having institutions lecturing countries and so on. This is exactly what we are doing, by the way, on energy with the JETP, on nature with the new contract we want to create for the preservation of forests and nature and so on. And this new methodology is much more adapted. I don't want to be longer. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for your very strong and clear statement. Finance in common will be this platform, so we will elaborate and follow up all together. Thank you.